of Elements. So today we're going to be preparing Parisian Gnocchi. Parisian Gnocchi, it's a pretty basic recipe. It's literally 5 ingredients. So we got, in this case I use cake flour, a pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper, and some nutmeg. And it's a lot different than your ordinary classic potato gnocchi. So this is called pâte à choux, it's French. So what we're going to start with, as you notice, we have some water boiling. Anytime you're going to blanch some vegetables or pasta, you want to make sure to add a big amount of salt. So we're going to start with the flour. Melted the flour a little bit. We don't want the butter to brown. We just want the butter to melt a little bit. So I'm using this 3.5 ounces of butter for 15 ounces of just regular milk. I use whole milk, but you can use 2%. You can use skim. It's totally fine. If you want this dish to be vegan or vegetarian, you can also use almond milk. I recommend almond milk because it doesn't have a lot of flavor. But what we're doing in here is just heating it up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to this to the mixture. And again, we're just melting the butter and heating up the milk a little bit. If you have a wooden spoon at home, preferable to use wooden spoon instead of a whisk. But if you do not have that, you can go ahead and use a whisk. So the butter is almost melted. We just want to bring this not to a boil, just slightly heat to the mixture itself. So while this happening, I got a couple of steaks right here. We got porterhouse and New York strip. If you notice that they have a lot of, I choose this one, and that's what I use in the restaurant. This is painted hills. Quite a few marbling. Don't let that scare you. A lot of people get scared because of all the fat. You want that fat to be present. So while that's happening, what I'm gonna do, you always want to cook or want to have your steaks at room temperature before you cook them, at least 20 minutes. So they're starting to boil. We're gonna reduce the heat, and be generous on the salt. I use kosher salt, do not use iodized salt. That's no good. So you want to pound them, the salt really nicely in there. And when you do the salt, try to, I always do it from up above. Pinch, it's a big pinch with all your fingers. And just kind of move your fingers back and forth. And to that, I'm going to add a little bit of pepper as well. And again, you're doing the same thing. So these steaks have been resting for at least 45 minutes at room temperature before I put them in there. So that's done. Get all the seasoning on the entire steak. This is one of my favorite ones, New York strip. And for a lot of people, this is also really good. It gives you both flavors in one. Close the bone. It's really tasty. All right, so we're gonna go back to the gnocchi. So now the water, it's not boiling, but it's hot enough. So what we're gonna do with the flour, I use. You have to weigh it anytime you do anything that requires sort of baking. you want to measure it. And this one specifically is 15.9 ounces. I know it sounds weird, but if you go over that or less that, and you don't weigh it, if you try to, skip that and use a measuring cup, it's not gonna work. So when that happens, I'm just gonna stir really quick. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna turn sort of like in a paste. If it gets too lumpy or too thick, you can go ahead and grab some of your water to adjust it. So it's becoming to a really nice consistency. You want to break up the lumps of the pasta. I'm going to add a little bit more butter. Just keep stirring, just very slowly. Just a little bit more water. If you don't have cake flour, you can also use regular all-purpose flour. But I recommend the cake flour. So it comes into a nice, really nice smooth consistency. So this, before we move into the next step, I'm going to let it rest for a couple minutes. We're going to let it cool because this, we're going to add 6 eggs to it. And while that's happening, gonna get our pan. This is carbon. I prefer to use this for sauteing, but you can use stainless steel. You can use skillet. Anything that you have around. I mean, if you don't have that. This is a stainless steel, so I'm gonna cook both of them in 2 separate pans so I can show you the difference. It's really not a lot of difference to it. You want to get your saute pans quite hot, not smoking, but about medium heat. Don't ever use olive oil. I know it's a lot healthy, but it's not good for cooking. I use a blend of it's 70% canola and 30% olive oil. The reason why is because it keeps the heat. It doesn't burn the oil, and whatever you cook in that is not gonna taste cooked and done. So I'm gonna grab some eggs. So the eggs are gonna go here in a little bit. You can see the pan is smoking. Now you want to be careful when you dump this. You want to facing you. And when you dump it down, just slowly just let it go. And this is your best friend. So when you put it in the pan, you should hear that. After you do that, just walk away. Don't try to move it. Don't try to stir it. Just let it go. We're gonna keep it at medium heat. Now we're gonna go back to this. And this, I'm gonna do it by hand. But if you have a mixer at home, you can do it. You can do it in the mixer. So this one is 6 eggs. So we're going to start egg at a time. Make sure it's incorporated. It's gonna look like it's going to just break apart and nothing is gonna happen, but just be patient. Second egg goes in. And it's gonna get a little messy, so the cleaning after this is definitely required. Alright, so the steaks, they're building a really nice crust on the bottom. Right there. That's what you're looking for. So at this point, I'm going to flip them very carefully. You can see the really nice crust. That's goody. So after I flip it, I turn it down a little bit for another 3 minutes. This guy is going to take a little bit longer. Yeah. We need to give him some space. So it's finally coming together, the mix. It's easier in a mixer with a paddle attachment. But I just like the old-fashioned way. Okay, so I'm gonna add my last 2 eggs. Slowly looking better. So I'm going to give it a little bit of heat. Alright. It's looking good. Now we're going to add Parmesan cheese, but before we do that, let's flip our steak. Oh yeah, this is good. So I have both of them at just low temp. I don't need to rush them, because what I want them to do, you want them to relax. You don't want to rush the cooking process. Especially with a cut like this. The fillet is very lean, it doesn't have a lot of fat, so it's going to cook really, really quick. And if you're not careful, you're going to dry it out. So you want to let it relax. I'm going to take some of the oil off. Now to the gnocchi, we're going to add Parmesan cheese, and the Parmesan cheese is an equal weight of the flour. And some herbs, whatever herbs you want, and whatever cheese. You don't have to use Parmesan cheese. If you don't have Parmesan cheese, you can use Gruyere. Making me sweat. So as you can see, it's pretty much ready. So we're gonna let it cool a little bit. We got the steak nice and seared. This is done. We got our water. So the next thing, and my favorite part. So now we crank up the heat a little bit. Butter. Lots of butter. And this is a technique that is called basting. Basically, we melting the solids of the butter, but not burning. I'm going to take this up a little bit. And then you're going to start doing this. Kind of tilt your pan. And this is what this is going to do, is going to keep the steak, or whatever you cook in. It doesn't have to be steak. Fish, it works really well with fish. Some people like to use like the whole herb. I prefer the chop because I can enjoy it. So you can hear it popping right now really nicely. This one, we'll do the same thing. You don't want to move it too much because you can spill it to yourself. You want to keep the steak in there and have, the butter just kind of fold it up. Just kind of move your shoulder like up and down, like back and forward motion. Don't be aggressive to it. Otherwise you're gonna end up burning yourself. So what this thing is doing is it's caramelizing the steak, but it's also flavoring it at the same time. You can put in there garlic. Again, if you like rosemary, use rosemary. If you like thyme, use thyme. In this case, I use 5 different types of herbs. So it's really nice and crispy right now. Bubbling. So after this process, which is the most important one, if you have a small sheet pan, with a rag will be better. If not, you can put it on a plate. You want to take it out of the heat and let it rest. This is where you're gonna have to be very patient, because what we usually do, everybody wants to do is like as soon as it's cooked, let's dig in, right? By resting the steak is going to relax the muscles, and what we all call blood. It's actually juices. It's actually just water that is inside the steak. So that's why you want to rest it and pre-salt it if possible. So all the muscles relax, and when you cook it, it cooks very fast. It cooks evenly instead of if you cook it from refrigerator to the pan, it's not gonna cook evenly, and it's gonna have those spots where it's like bloody and dry in one part and cook in the other side. This is not gonna have that, and you'll see once we cut it open. So those are 2 very important steps. So back to the gnocchi. Okay. So we got some water here. So we are back with the gnocchi, and I'm praying to God that it will work, because it does matter. Humidity, heat, everything else matters. I'm just gonna do a small tiny batch. This recipe will be enough for about 4 people, and you can can add whatever you want. You can eat it by itself. You can serve it with fish, with shrimp, with the steak. It's super delicious. It's really, really good. It goes with anything. Roasted vegetables. You can roast vegetables. Again, with anything you want to do, this is awesome. So again, I'm using my carbon pan. Again, if you don't have one, that's fine. That's not a big deal. If you don't have something like this, you can use a non-stick pan. Prefer non-stick pan because it's kind of watery and doughy. So I prefer that. So to do this, you have a paring knife. This is gonna do the trick. Just kind of cut it, push a little bit, put a little bit of force to it. If you don't have a pastry bag, you can use a Ziploc bag. So again, the water should be not boiling. You don't want the water to be boiling, because otherwise it will destroy the pasta. Or the dough, in this case, is not really pasta. You want the heat to be just a little bit gentle. So we're just going to do one order. So the way you know this is done, it's going to come to the surface. It's going to start floating, and it's going to become a little bit hard. So here I'm going to use oil again. The pan, nice and hot, medium heat. And anything you cook, you should have the pan hot. Don't ever try to cook it in cold pans. It's just the worst thing you can ever do. It's almost done. So you can feel it. It's a little pillow. It gets a little rigid. It's a little like sponge almost. So if you have a tiny colander, you can use a tiny colander. And if you know this batch, if you don't use it the whole batch right away, that's fine. Just cook the whole thing. Like I said, this is gonna give you, it's gonna give you quite about 4 people. If you don't use all of it, use whatever you're gonna cook today. Take the other stuff, put it in Ziploc bags, freeze it. It's totally perfect. Okay, so I pre-oil my sheet pan. Now, we don't want to add it to that while it's still hot. For me. I'm going to take a towel, very gentle, just paper towel. It's easier and it's better when it cools down. I don't have another batch to do that, otherwise I would. But it's better if you do it in batches, cool it down. Once it's cooled down, then you can throw it on the pan and do whatever you have to do. When you add it to it, try to not do it over the heat because it's gonna splash you and it's not comfortable. It's gonna splash you all over the face and you're gonna end up not enjoying your meal. There you go. So now we crank up the heat a little bit more. And again, we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the steak. After this happens, don't do anything with it. Just let it go. It's gonna crisp up. It's going to grow about 1.5 times its original volume. It's gonna puff up, and it's natural. You just gonna give it a little tiny stir. In the meantime, I'm gonna make some steak sauce, which on our next channel, on the next time, we can talk about this, how you can achieve a really good restaurant quality demi-glace without being so expensive, and it might be going into a garbage can. So we'll talk about this next time. So it's starting to brown. Starting to create this nice browning. So I'm gonna add butter to it. The butter is gonna help it crisp up. Turn the heat down. Okay. And then in a separate pan, I want to start my sauce. Again, this is restaurant demi-glace. This is gold. This is one of the French mother sauces. This is gold for the cooks. Hope you're getting hungry.
Yes, I am.
Good. This is almost done. So I'm gonna add a little bit of herbs, some butter, this is looking really good. I'm gonna take it off the heat, but at this point we're creating so like a brown butter. So to that, you can add, if I can find them, you can add nuts. I got this pine nuts. You can add nuts to it. A little bit of parsley. You can add pretty much anything you want. I got a little bit of butternut squash that is pre-roasted. Again, some of these things, we will show you a whole preparation from start to finish, so you can obtain a really good restaurant quality dish. But I still want you to come to my restaurant. Now the steaks have been resting for about 5 minutes. They bounce back really nicely. This one I overcook it a little bit, and this is why I cook it in 2 pans, so I can show you what I was talking about. But the way you want to test it, the temperature, we don't really use thermometers in the kitchen. You can do it with your fingers. If you touch the tip of the finger right here, this is well done. And then move it down. It's medium rare, and this is completely rare. So this is how you test it. You can test it right here as well by putting some friction into your arms. You put your palm and just put it together. you can definitely, like, this is definitely rare, medium rare, medium well. This is really tough, so it's well done. So right now, this one, it bounces really nice back. So this is about medium. So we're gonna slice this puppy first. So by resting it, all the juices stay there, all the goodie. You can use this goodie and add it to this, and it's a lot more flavor. That is how you obtain a really good steak. It's juicy, it's not bloody, and it's gonna be really tender because we let it rest. Now this, what I like to do, just carve it off the bone a little bit. The steak, the filet mignon, is still nice and medium rare. So just gonna leave it like that. Carve this guy off. Again, same thing. I want to slice it in a nice bias. I like the bone myself. I like to chew on the bone when nobody's watching. You can see there's no mess. Now this gnocchi, and this is really simple. The gnocchi is simple, like I said. You can do a vegetarian. You can do a gluten-free as well if you use rice flour. If you use rice flour, you want to use a little bit more because it's not as heavy. It doesn't have a lot of gluten, so it's very normal. But you can definitely do this gluten-free just using rice flour or any other nut flour. You got a nice sauce. Put a little bit on the steak and just kind of, every bite you take, you should taste that sauce. Boom, there you have it. Parisian gnocchi. One with your strip, and then the second one, porterhouse with the same thing. Parisian gnocchi. It literally took us like 30 minutes to do this dish. Again, if you do not have demi-glace, it's totally fine. Use these things and use the drippings. You can put it back in the pan, add a little bit of red wine, some butter, reduce it down. It doesn't take that much and it still tastes super delicious. But it's a meal that, you know, it will impress anybody and impress yourself. And it's good restaurant quality food. It's just steak. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and see you next time.